Hey, how you doing? This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. And I know a lot of you are kind of glued to the TV, watching the news of what's going on in the world right now. And from what I can tell, there seems to be a lot of misinformation. And what I've always done when I wanted to find out really what's happening is I've listened to my scanner radio. Now, where I live in Pinellas County, they've gone digital, and I do not own a digital radio, scanner radio. They're about $600. But, and I've shown you this many times before, you can go on radioreference.com, and if there is somebody in your area that has the proper radio and they put it on radioreference.com, actually Broadcastify now, you can listen to it and get live, true information of what's going on. Now, granted, it could get boring, but right now it's not so boring. With what's going on, it's not so boring. And you can listen to other places in the United States, or even in some cases in the world, and hear what's going on. So, speaking of the United States, there's a couple of hot spots for this epidemic. And I was just watching the news about a half hour ago, and one station would say, oh, they're about to contain it and everything's getting better, and another station say, oh, it's getting worse and worse, and you just don't know how to believe. Well, here is an idea. Now, maybe you don't think it's such a good idea, and I won't argue with you, put it that way. So anyway, what I do is we go to live audio, and one of the things, and that takes you to Broadcastify. That's why I'm saying Radio Reference now, as far as listening to radios, is Broadcastify. For frequency information and stuff like that, you still use Radio Reference. Then it shows you a map of the United States. And you can select a state. So you could select, which I've done, you could select, for instance, one of the hot spots for this virus is New York. Okay, we'll select New York. And then there's all kinds of counties in New York you can listen to, but I want to listen to New York. So I select that. And then it gives me a list of scanner radios in New York. So I come down here, and here are all the feeds. And then what I typically do, and I've done, is, and there's a lot of them in this area, is I look at the number of listeners, because that's usually an indication of the most activity. So right here, this one is in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island. It's got 193 listeners. So that one's probably pretty active. That's what I have down. I've already opened it up. I've opened two of them. Let me just open this and back up. So here it is right here. This is what you see when you open it up, except it's full screen, and I just kind of shrunk it down a little bit, because you can actually open up more than one of these at a time. Now, the problem is it's hard to tell when you hear some activity. It's hard to tell which one. Now, it used to be, and I can't get it to work on Windows 10, it used to be under the options. Let me go back. Under the options here, a player selection, you could select, I believe it was Flash Web Player. Well, I don't have the latest Flash Web Player, and Windows doesn't want me to load it, so I'm just staying away from it. But when you use that player, it would actually give you a little audio spectrum window. I'll just give you a little hint here. So it was in here someplace, right in here. So you could when there was audio coming in, you could actually look at that and see if that little spectrum was moving, indicating that there was audio on that particular radio. And you could open up, like I say, a couple of these side by side. So you could have this kind of work like a scanner, although it wouldn't go from one to the other. It would just have them all going at the same time. And like I say, the way the player that I'm using now, which is the default HTML player, you don't get any indication when a particular radio is active. At least I don't know you do. Now maybe somebody can tell me, oh, you look at this little button here or whatever. And so you don't know exactly where the feed is coming from. Now you could pause, like I pause both of these now, and figure out which one was the active one, but by that time the transmission may have already stopped. So let me turn these two on for a few minutes. Here's another one I selected, which is New York PD Special Operations Division. Not sure exactly what that is. Turn that on. And then I'll turn this on, which is the fire department of New York in various places. And lo and behold, there's no activity right this minute. I mean, before I started recording, both of these were going non-stop. Maybe I have to restart them. I have noticed when you pause a feed and you restart it, it doesn't always restart. So you have to close it and then open it again. So let's try that. So I'm going to close this one down, and I'm going to go to this list here and reopen it. Yeah.
1456 hours, stretcher 202.
That's what it was. And then you can shrink this down if I can grab this edge right here and move it over so you can have room for more. And then you can grab this up here and move it over. And then I can open the other one. Which one is this one? Oops. That one. I'll restart. No, that's not the one I want. I want the special. Yeah. So I'll restart this one because it appears to be dead too. Appears. Now maybe it was just coincidental that other one came back. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back here. Let me find it again. Where was it? Okay, here's one that's active right now. 105 listeners. And I'm trying to figure out where I was before. 12. There's a lot of them in New York. Okay, let's...
Queens responding to engine 268.
Bus 1379. Is EMS aware that they're requested?
Notification made to EMS at 1444 hours. The time now 1457268.
Okay, I'm going to...
Thank you.
Queens 5, stretcher 202.
My turn. I'm going to open this one up too.
Gas phone is 2 Edwards. Phone alarm 4701, address 1505 Townsend Avenue. Unit 172 Street, East Huntington Avenue for a gas phone and apartment 2 Edwards.
So there we go. We got two of them running.
Fire alarm box 682, address 336 Lexington Avenue, 2 Marcy Avenue and Oakton Avenue, Sonora Smoke Apartment 2 Boy.
What I was saying before, let me pause both of these, is when you have more than one open using this player, the HTML player, you can't tell, at least I can't tell which one is active or not active, but which one the audio is coming from. So it's better, you can experiment with a couple of them and then see one, figure out which one you think is the most active. So you can, so this one has been the most active in the New York area. So I can close this down. And like I said, you'll hear the fire and EMS dispatchers and the various active vehicles and what's going on real time. So it gives you real time an indication of really what's going on in that area. So I just thought I would show it to you. Many of you probably know about this, but this is a good time to kind of listen to this to get the real facts of what's going on. You can like what I do is I have it playing in background, and then when I hear them say something important or interesting, then I'll come over to the computer and start listening intensely and see what's going on. So that's it. I hope you all are safe, not struggling with this situation we got. I'm a very old person, so I'm staying in most of the time, making a run to the grocery store first thing in the morning when the least amount of people are there. And be safe. Have a good day. Bye-bye.